On today's episode of the Slices podcast with Jason Pelligra, we sit down with actress and star of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Amanda Wyss. Hey everybody, this is Jason Pelligra. Welcome to the Slices podcast. I'm joined by star of Nightmare on Elm Street and many other films and series and everything, Amanda Wyss. Thank you for being with us, Amanda.
Hey, my pleasure.
How are you doing today?
I'm okay. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you. So, thank you for doing this. First off, actually, I want to get right into something, and we're going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street primarily on this podcast, and your role of Tina. But before we do so, I want to touch on a project that you're working with William Butler, and it's called Miskatonic U.
Yeah, the Resonator.
All right.
Miskatonic U, the Resonator.
Okay, so first off, how did you hook up with Billy?
Billy and I have wanted to work together for years, and we've come across various projects over the last couple of years, and then this one just stuck. And he called and he was like, "Do you want to be Professor McMichaels in this TV series for Amazon?" And I was like, "Yeah." So we've done the pilot, and then when we get the go ahead from Full Moon Pictures and Amazon, we'll go back and shoot more. And it's the cast is amazing, the story is amazing. Billy is such a good writer and director and creator, and Full Moon Pictures is so supportive, and they're just such a good group of people to work for. And it's a kind of, if this goes, it would just be so much fun to do. And it's really, this series is really primarily about these college kids who at Miskatonic U, and they're all such good actors, and they're gorgeous, and I just think people are going to be really enticed by them and their stories, and they're really good actors. So I'm excited about that. And then we have some really cool veterans, like the amazing star Michael Pare, who is just beautiful inside and out and so talented, and Jeffrey Byron, and I mean, there's just like some good old timers like myself, but the kids are really the stars of the show, and they're fantastic. And just fingers crossed. I want this to go so badly. I just would, God, it would just be ideal. So.
Well, let's put it into the universe and it'll happen. What's so you mentioned who your character is. Is there any little tidbits you can give us about what kind of character you are?
Yes. Let's see. Okay, I'm Professor McMichaels, and I teach religious studies or spiritual studies. And I am, my character throughout the series, they touch on it in the pilot, unfolds to be not what you would think I am. And I'm perhaps not on the light side. I might be on the dark side. Perhaps. We'll see.
That sounds good.
We'll see how it goes and where the character goes. And I may or may not, have magical powers. I
may or may not. Okay.
I may or may not. I may or may not. My hair is being weird. Not always have my students' best interest in heart.
Okay.
So there's a lot to
awesome.
Unpack with this character if it goes forward, which would be nice.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So, and to move it forward, so where are we going to be able to see this? When?
It airs the end of February. I don't know the exact date, or it gets dropped to stream on Amazon Prime at the end of February.
Awesome.
So everybody, please go watch it, because the more people that watch it, the better chance we have to go back and continue the story. everybody needs to go watch it.
All right.
Miskatonic You, the Resonator, Amazon Prime, end of February. I don't have the exact date, which I
That's fine.
probably should have
We'll
before I
figure
was
it out.
talking to you.
We'll figure it out. We'll
Um,
plug it for you. No problem.
okay, great.
Miskatonic You. That's kind of a unique title. Do you want to
It
share
is. It's the H.P.
origins?
Lovecraft universe.
Okay.
He has set stories or talked about Miskatonic You, like From Beyond, some other stories. So it's all set in that universe. And it's a retelling of certain stories, but it's still in that universe that H.P. Lovecraft has
Awesome.
created. And so there'll be a lot of familiar elements to sci-fi / horror fans of H.P. Lovecraft.
That's cool.
So it's definitely that world. So it's Miskatonic You. It's like magical things happen at Miskatonic U, and dangerous things happen, and people are a lot of leaps in time, and string theory stuff happens.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm a science guy, so now I'm hooked. I was hooked before, but that's awesome. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm super excited about
You
it.
sound it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good.
And you know it's nice because it's not predicated on anything from the past. It's just I'm just a professor at this college, and
Yeah.
it's just fun to get to create a character from scratch that you know she doesn't have to be hot, she doesn't have to look younger than she is, she doesn't have to be recognizable to people from the past. Do you know what I mean? Like there's not any pressure. I can just be the character actress that I am and create this character that's in its own world, and it's super satisfying as an actor.
Exactly.
But I also love
sure.
working with all these people, and like I said, Billy is it's just a dream to get to work with him and
That's
Michael
great.
Pare and
Yeah.
I'm like a huge fan of all these young kids who I think they're all going to be stars.
That's great. Yeah, and when you get into acting, these are the kind of roles that you want, right? This is what you're hoping for, and you probably don't always get, but so when you get it, you're passionate about it, which is awesome.
Thank you.
So yeah, so we're gonna dive into what you're most famous for, but
okay, wait. I just want to say,
yeah?
my mouth is kind of numb right here, and it's doing something weird because I had dental work done. So
Okay.
if my smile looks weird, like I was just looking at it, it's like not okay.
I think you're good. I mean,
okay. I
didn't notice anything.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's still like I had root canal.
Oh,
like,
did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
thanks.
Or the beginning of one. Okay. So that's too much information, but I'm noticing like my face is still numb. Okay.
Well, no, it looks fine. I mean, it's even more reason to love you for being a trooper and being on the show after having root canal. I was looking into, I mean, I've seen you for years on a lot of projects, a lot of film and television. And I was kind of looking through some of the people that you've worked with. And I'm thinking that we could almost do probably a 6 Degrees of Amanda Wyss, like Kevin Bacon, because you have starred with a lot of people early on in their careers. But I bet 6 Degrees, and I'm throwing it out there to people to try. I bet people could get pretty far with the connections that you've had, and I mean that must be an amazing experience for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially when I was younger and I did so many TV pilots and episodic TV and TV movies. And a lot of huge movie stars and things used to, go on Murder, She Wrote and do movies of the week. Because remember, I mean, you might be too young, but they used to have like the Sunday or the Sunday night movie of the week,
I'm
Monday
not too
night
young.
movie of the week, or the ABC movie of the week.
Yep.
There'd always be, I know, I got to do a movie with Robert Mitchum, and just things like that. And then, I know I've thought about that before, not the 6 Degrees. That's funny.
Yeah.
But especially early on, television. I mean, because I just did so many episodes.
Yeah.
So I got to work and learn from the best, because that was obviously pre-cell phone, when you sat on a set and everybody talked. And all the old timers loved to share their stories. They all started in theater, and they had all these great stories of Oh, and it's like cue the blower if you hear that. Sorry.
No, we're
Um,
good.
um, they, they summer stock and working with Marlon Brando, or they would just tell these stories,
Yeah.
of like working with Jimmy Stewart, and
Hmm.
would talk about the training that they had and stuff. And I think what happens nowadays on sets is everybody's on their cell phone between takes, or
Yeah.
everybody's in their dressing room, and there's not that um camaraderie. Like now I'm old and I would love for anybody to pick my brain and nobody cares. Like when I'm on a set, they're like, yeah, I already know
On
it.
their
I Googled
phones.
it. I don't need you. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but oh my God, you just would hear these stories, and then getting to watch these old pros work, and how
Yeah.
they would approach a scene, or like create
For sure.
energy. Like there were people that would just like create energy between their hands, like literally, and then go into a scene, or, you
Yeah.
know,
Now, let
people.
me ask you something, because based on what I mean, we're kind of deviating, but I have no problem
Oh,
with this
sorry.
because it's a great. No, no, it's this is what I want. So you kind of mentioned how you sat, you learned, you were in awe of the people that came before you, and
Yeah,
whether they were old or even just bursting on the scene and had that big break or whatever. Do you find that's this? It's not like that at all. Again, because of social media and phones and stuff like that. But do you find that there's a disconnect now on sets?
I do. I
Yeah.
think there's a couple of things. Everybody's busy taking pictures of themselves and putting it on their Instagram saying that they're working, which is
Yeah.
great. I do
Yeah.
it too. Um, but there's not a conversation and a camaraderie that,
Yeah.
like when I was younger, that sitting around and people telling stories or people just listening also creates chemistry, and
Yeah.
it creates an openness, and
Yeah.
it lays the groundwork for the playground that you're going to go play on when the director says action.
Yeah.
And because people don't do that now, everything is kind of, every scene is from scratch.
Mhm.
Like it just doesn't have that uh familiarity. But
Yeah.
what I do, working on this show that I just did, it was interesting, partly because there's no cell phones at Miskatonic.
Uh,
The young people tended to want to sit around and talk a little bit more, and I found that to be, and there was just an ease and facility
mhm.
to play, um because I think, and I'm guilty of this on sets too, playing on
Mhm.
my phone. It closes you off from the environment, and it's a way of saying don't talk to me, don't bother
Yeah.
me,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
yeah. So I find that, and now also, because everything's digital, which is amazing, because they can make me look amazing in the camera, even though I'm old.
Oh,
But that it's there is, there's the video village, and the director's way over there, and actors are in
mhm.
their dressing room. It used to be, gosh, like when I was shooting Silverado or something like that,
Mhm.
everyone sat around talking,
Yeah.
everyone telling
Yeah.
stories, making people laugh, and then they'd be like, okay, you're ready, and everybody was loose and having, you know connections with people. And
Yeah.
you just, because I kind of feel like as an actor, to we have to like crack this open, like in our heart
Mhm.
area, to like really like reach out and be present and alive, and a conduit for things, and to really listen to the other actor.
Yeah.
So I think, but you know what, this is the new normal, and
That's true.
it, it's the way it is. Like how
Yeah.
I know it to be is not the way it is anymore, and that's okay. I just don't always have the firmest footing in it, but
Yeah.
I think, who knows, the people before me, who
Mhm.
knows. So, everybody has, I mean, in our lifetime, technology has progressed
Yeah.
so quickly that, I
And
just,
like you said, you're guilty of it too sometimes, and like me
oh
too.
God,
Like,
yeah.
I'm like all these people with their cell phones, and then I'm on my phone. I mean,
Oh,
we
I know.
do
I
that.
just looked at mine just now while we were
Yeah.
talking. Yeah.
But like, see, it's funny because like, your memories of working with Robert Mitchum could be an in-depth conversation that you had on set, and that stayed with you all your life. Now the memory is just a picture. Can we get a picture, and you just snap a
Yeah.
selfie, and you're like, hey, look, I worked with Robert
Yeah.
Mitchum. Like, that it's a lot different. But what satisfied you back then is kind of what satisfies the younger generation nowadays. And maybe you just got to work with Quentin Tarantino. I heard he has a no cell phone policy on his set.
Right.
So
Right. I
maybe
know.
if you,
I totally sound like Mrs. Kravitz, like, get off the lawn, these crazy kids. And I
no,
don't mean it that way. But I think I I have been on sets recently. I did an episodic, and the director was like, no cell phones on the set.
Mhm.
And people weren't happy about it, but it was so much fun. It just,
Yeah.
everyone had to actually look at people and stuff. But, like I said, I carry my phone around, and I'm always like trying to get a picture with someone. And but that's also because nobody wants to hear my stories.
No, I was gonna spin it the other way around. Flip side of that is
I don't get I finally got to the age, and that
no
nobody cares,
no.
because it's I think kids nowadays, or young people, they're just raised there. Everything that they think they want to know is available to them on the internet. And
Yeah.
so I think listening to old-timey stories must just not even be, I don't know, it's that isn't current storytelling. Current storytelling is your Instagram live, or so I totally understand it, because it's we're just not in we're not a I just don't believe we're a verbal culture anymore of passing down information. I think it's typed into something, or text, or done on a Zoom.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I just think that's the next phase. Like, it's not like, hey, gather around, I have a story to tell. People are like, yeah, whatever.
We're gonna tell your story today, so people can watch this. But on the flip side,
Like,
you
sorry.
And the story today is root canal. But you're kind of underselling things, and if you look at it the other way around, is you're taking pictures of yourself on set, you're posting it, and people who adore you and fans of you and people who follow you really do appreciate that. That's
nice.
their story from you, even though it's not like sitting by a campfire and getting to the early days of acting.
That's nice. I like that. Okay. It does feel really just like a big, as my boyfriend, because he doesn't really do a lot of social media, he's like, you're just a big basket of vanity.
No, it's what
it's
people
just a big basket of vanity.
Basket of vanity. Hashtag. That's good.
Yeah, he thinks I'm appalling when I'm doing selfies. I'm like,
no, he's got to understand that that your fans do want to see that people who follow you want to see that, and there's nothing wrong with it. So
thank you. I'm going to tell him
judge. I don't want to get in trouble with him, but tell him not to judge. All right, so I want to talk Nightmare on Elm Street, and I want to start from the beginning. So, do you remember reading for Wes?
Kind of. I mean, to be honest, my new rule in 2021 is complete honesty. So I'm going to be completely honest.
Great interview.
That's
going to be a great interview.
I'm now 60, and I don't always remember everything well. I just turned 60.
Did you really?
60.
Wow, you do not look 60 years old.
Well, I have a massive ring light.
But still, no. You do not look 60 years old. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an awesome milestone.
I know, and I was looking forward to having a huge party on my 60th birthday, but it's COVID.
I know.
So it was just me and Steven, who I love. We've been together forever. We ordered my favorite sushi and sat in the kitchen.
Just how you pictured it, eh?
Just how I pictured it. Just the two. And he got this cake with this candle that when we lit it, it like scared the crap out of both of us. It like jumped up and it opened up, and then it started spinning around.
Really?
And we thought we were going to burn the place down. We're like, wait, what is this? So it was all very exciting. Anyway,
that was funny. Well,
so
belated.
Thank you. When I got the script, I remember getting the script, and I remember reading it thinking it was so scary. And I'd never really watched horror films, but I had read The Exorcist and The Others and a couple other books that were like, to me, just like bone-chillingly
Yeah.
scary. And so when I went to meet Wes, we talked, and I was like, "Well, I don't really know anything about horror. I'm not
Yeah.
particularly a fan of it. I don't like being scared." And I was like, "So I don't really know how to be in a horror film." And he's like,
And
"Well,
this is in the audition process, or this is
yeah,
once you've
this
had
is
the role? Okay, this
yeah,
is
this is
okay.
in the we're just talking." And so he said, "I don't want you to act like you're in a horror film." He's like, "There's no horror acting." I
Yeah.
just he'd seen a TV movie I did um with Lonnie Anderson called My Mother's Secret Life. And he had it had stuck with him. And so, which was so funny. I had a mullet, and it was all anyway, that was the movie. So I was like, "Oh my God, do you want, please tell me you don't want me to get another mullet." But so he just was like, "Just want you to do what you do." And so and when we auditioned, everybody read for the role of Nancy in the beginning.
Mhm.
It was just that, obviously Tina didn't really ever say much. And so
Mhm.
everybody read for Nancy. So I get a call back, but the callback was so anyway, I read and we had talked, but what I remember more is the callback.
Okay.
So I get called back, and I get called back for the role of Tina. And I'm like, "All right, that's fine." Um, but when I walk in, he had me read with Heather. Like, he'd already, I think, cast us in his
Okay.
head. And so Heather and I read together, and we just hit it off like gangbusters from the get-go.
Awesome.
And I remember it was in this funky little bungalow audition space that was in Hollywood at the time. I don't even know if it still exists. And then he called in Johnny Depp and Nick Corey,
Mhm.
Jesus Garcia now, his
Mhm.
real name. And the four of us did an improv, and in the room, he told us we had the parts,
Oh,
which also
all
never
together.
happened.
That's
So I
pretty
think,
cool.
yeah, and there was quite a few people at the callback, but he brought us in,
Mm.
and I believe he had us wait and then brought us in. That's right at the end, and told us that we had the parts.
That's pretty
And
cool.
yeah, so it was, and we all just really liked each other and hit it
Yeah.
off. We were sitting on a couch. I know what it was. We improved that sleepover scene, uh,
Yeah.
where we're all goofing around and stuff.
Cool. Awesome. So so you read for Nancy,
I read for the role of Nancy.
and so I'm almost curious because this does happen often where people go in, they read for a role, then they get a different role.
Yeah.
Um, you said you're going to be honest, so we'll see. You're on set, you're on set, and you're playing Tina, Heather is playing Nancy. Are you completely able to let go of the fact that you read for Nancy at that point? Like, do you watch Heather and think, I probably could have done that a little differently, or are
Well,
you at that point? Are you committed to Tina and able to let that go? I always wonder that about actors, like,
right.
if they're able to kind of.
Yeah, I don't remember thinking anything like that about Heather. I was super into the role of Tina
Hmm.
because, well, also Wes had built it up in my head. He's like, "This is the red herring. You're my
Hmm.
Janet Leigh. This is, I need people to be so invested in you that when you die,
Hmm.
I want people to be broken a little bit. I want it to hurt so that they're
Yeah.
completely emotionally invested." So I felt like super empowered that I had this important role to set up the film. And in truth, if I had been cast as Nancy, it just would have been different. I mean, it would have
Hmm.
been so different because I, d- I think I'm more animated, or that's not the word. I'm just more. Heather and I are so different, and we're still really, really good friends. We're
Hmm.
just so completely different. She's like super Earth Mama energy, like super
Hmm.
grounded, and I tend to be a little more, emotional and intense, and
Yeah.
you know uh
Yeah.
things. So it would have been completely different,
For
for
sure.
whatever reason. I don't think I ever had that survivor girl energy.
Hmm.
I always die in movies. I am the person who's gonna die, and I'm usually like somewhat heroic, but I die. That's my archetype. Like,
That's
where Heather is, she's the heroine, and
yeah.
saves people. I like save one person and then I die, or I
Okay, so
try to save people but I die.
but
So
you go
I
out with a
have
bang.
I go out with a bang. I am always like the heart like
Yeah,
of something where
which is
like
great.
thank you. Like I play where I sort of my job always seems to be to get everybody emotionally invested and then I
Mhm.
die.
I mean, yeah,
And
but
then I die.
and then you die.
Then I die.
That's a tough gig. I mean, to get people emotionally invested is tough. So you
Yeah,
can't really
but I love it.
undersell that,
Yeah,
but then you die.
thank you.
Um,
Well, you know what? And I also realized like I've always been a character actress. Like I've never really been the leading lady unless the leading lady that I've played there it's a it's a character. I'm not
mhm.
ever like the lead where, you know, like Heather plays leads where she's just a solid like she's the mom and she's
Yeah,
or you know what I mean? Like she just
yeah,
has that like president of the PTA energy. When I'm
yeah,
the lead, I'm the mom, but I used to be a heroin addict hooker and people are going to find out and I'm like super nervous the whole movie. You know what I mean? Like so
yeah.
yeah,
Those are
so
fun roles, though, right?
thank
I
you.
mean, the
I
character
agree.
roles are always the better
Yeah,
one.
so I've always been, you know, an attractive character actress on my
Awesome.
way to hopefully just being like the full-blown handsome woman that used to be attractive so I can just get on with it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know and be like, you know, whatever happened to baby Jane for the rest of my life. That those are the roles I want.
So, but the funny thing is, and I say that that comment about playing Nancy because I actually find the role of Tina to be much more dynamic, a lot more. It's to me, it's a more a fascinating role because she is extremely tragic. Like her trajectory in life is it's not looking good. You
Yeah,
know, Freddie might not be the worst thing that happens to her, but so I kind of like that. I think her role was the one with a lot of the meat on the bone.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think I like it too. And I like as an actor, I it was just challenging
Hmm.
um and I felt like I got to really dig into it and try to bring something to it because the truth is if people weren't invested in Tina to some degree it just becomes a slasher movie that has a bunch of kids getting slashed. But I also think the other thing that worked, I mean overall Wes's genius is that um I mean Heather's drop dead gorgeous, but and so is Johnny. But even then, we were all the cutest kids in a small town. Does that make sense? We weren't. None of us are supermodels, or
Yeah.
you know. I think there's a, you know, I don't know. We both Heather and I mean, and we're still friends. I grew up in a little beach town. Like, I thought if I wore mascara, I had on too much makeup. And Heather was super, like, we just weren't like super
Yeah.
savvy hot chicks. We were
Yeah.
like,
It was just
we were
natural.
like, yeah, we were. So I think that also helps the movie because
Yeah.
people live next door to people like us. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Like, we
kind of,
weren't like scantily clad. I mean, look at the clothes we wear in
yeah.
that movie. And people were doing movies scantily clad back then, but
Yeah.
we all had on like weird baggy Levi's. By the way, we I think we all shared the Levi's. We all wore the same size pretty much. Um and you know, like weird baggy shirts. And I mean,
Yeah.
weird hair. Like
Yeah.
we were not,
And
you
that's a
know, like
direction choice, right? That's Wes. Like, I mean, he could have made it like a Friday the 13th kind of slasher
yep,
style, but it was
totally.
different. So
It was, and I think that all of those little subliminal or
mhm,
those choices lead you to be involved. Like even our rooms, like the bedrooms, were
mhm.
so detailed and a little bit dingy,
Yeah.
and everybody's were different, and we all got to, you know, hang out in those rooms before filming and make them feel like our own. And
Yeah.
um, anyway, go on, ask me something else. So I
Well, no,
digress.
it's funny because I grew up in the suburbs, and so that, I mean, what the houses, though different, were the same. Like, you know, for
Yeah,
me, so the relatability on my end and a lot of other people, it was there. So I that's one of the take homes for me on that film. It feels like I lived on that street. Like,
Yeah,
it's a cool relationship you have with the settings, because I'm all about
yeah,
settings in
yeah.
film. So, all right, I want to talk about you and Wes. Did you sit down with him? Did he discuss the character with you at all? Did you have any pre-production conversations or on-set conversations about the direction to take Tina, or did he just kind of leave it to you to navigate?
We did have conversations, but I don't remember if it was before we started filming or if it was on the set. I
Hmm.
don't remember. But yeah, he was kind of, you touched on it, that, Tina had a rough, upbringing, and
Hmm.
like doesn't have a father, and her mom's a drunk, and which so is Nancy's
I was gonna
mom.
say
And
everybody was in Nightmare on
yeah,
Elm Street.
exactly. And that really, the four kids found each other because they all come from
Yeah.
horrible homes. And I know for Wes, that was when we shot that, he was exploring that our generation were the first kids to really come from a lot of broken homes. Like,
Mm.
people stayed together more before. We were like the first generation of divorced parents. And so
Yeah.
he was exploring that, the latchkey kids.
Yeah.
Um and but talking about Tina, he, wanted me to, we talked a lot about that Tina was, um didn't didn't feel lovable, and so that's why she was, you know a little more wild. Um and and so we just talked, yeah, we talked about her tragic life, but as an actor you can't play tragic, so we really were just
Mhm.
talking about, like, you know what motivated her to, to find love or to feel good.
Yeah.
and
That's
and
good.
that she, that I think she, that loving Nancy, because Nancy's like so pure in so many ways, and that Nancy loved Tina, made
Mhm.
Tina feel more lovable. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, for sure. And did you like that as an actor, like a director kind of communicating with you about it, or was it more, or were you more, I got this, stand
Oh,
back?
no.
No.
No, I could talk about characters I play for days with the director, the writer,
Yeah.
the other actors I'm working with. I just find, and it might be my training, like, you know, drama school and then doing theater, that you just don't have as much time to rehearse on
Mhm.
TV and film. And so if people want to talk and dig deep, and because
Yeah.
there's always something to mine and to
Mhm.
bring up, like, oh, that word, if I
Yeah.
hit that word, they'll know that uh we broke up a long time ago, or something like that, like
Yeah.
just to add, like, one, like, if you can, like.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that discovery is through conversation and
Mhm.
improv. And
And a conversation with a director can almost be like kind of like a rehearsal in a sense, because you can gain things about the character because you see the enthusiasm from
yeah,
them, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna remember
yeah.
that and
And
stuff.
you know
So
what,
that's kind of
I think he had me watch Psycho, and what was the other one? I forget, but he's like, see how you think she's gonna be the. That's what but he
Mhm.
had me watch movies, and I can't remember where there's a red herring in the beginning that you
Yeah,
think is going to be the lead. And I mean, Psycho is one of them,
yeah. That
but
it's
there's
the famous one, right?
yeah, but there's other ones. So, but I
Yeah.
don't remember,
All
because
right.
I'm 60
Oh,
and I
stop.
can't remember.
You're don't we can't use that as a crutch. We're gonna dig deep. It's in there.
Okay.
So overall, did you enjoy working with Wes? Was he one of the ones that you kind of related to, and at the end of it all, it was an experience that you appreciated, or was it a little difficult at times?
Um, no, it was never difficult. I
Yeah.
mean, filming indie is difficult just because there's just not enough time and
Yeah.
money to make things happen. But and I don't remember this, but Robert told me once, or Heather told me, either Robert or Heather, I don't remember, that half, when we were almost done with the movie, they'd run out of money, and then they got more money and we finished. But he's like,
Mhm.
you were there. I'm like, I don't remember that. But no, Wes was great. You know what? First of all, he was such a classy guy. He was always dressed impeccably on set, and because he dressed nicely, He would wear a tie, or a really nice button-down shirt and chinos or something. The crew started dressing nicer, and it
Oh
really
yeah.
did. It elevates the experience,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, that was kind of cool, and
Hmm.
he had a wicked sense of humor, but he was also incredibly serious. I mean, he was a
Yeah.
professor, so he's very like avuncular and professorial.
Yeah.
Um, but he had kids our age, so he was very capable of talking to us. I mean, he
Yeah.
had two daughters that are pretty much our age.
Yeah. Well, that
And
doesn't
so
always mean you're able to talk to kids that age
that's
if
true.
you're a father,
That's
but
true.
it's good that he was.
He was. And
He's
yeah,
sorry.
no, it's okay. And he just made, you know, he just, I mean, he didn't get in your face or anything. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
just super, you know,
Professional and
yeah,
ready.
this is what I want you
He
to do. Do you
he
have
knew
any
what he wanted.
questions? Like, what's going to happen next?
So he and Bob Shea butted heads. It's been pretty documented. Did you see any of that?
No,
No.
Heather did, and she's like, "You were there." I'm like, didn't know it.
Someone who can't remember very many details of their life, that usually means that they have so many memorable experiences. So we're going to chalk that up
Thank
to
you.
your
Well, you
memory
know what?
rather than 60.
But I all thank you. But also, in my defense, Heather always says that I was there, and I don't know that I always was because I only shot like 1 week, maybe,
Yeah.
and they were all there like 4 or 5 weeks, and so many things happened that I wasn't there for.
Yeah,
And
I was going to ask that.
but either they were talking about me, or you know I felt present because a lot of Nancy's things were,
Yeah.
I'm in the hallway, but I wasn't really there. I shot that a different day. She wasn't even there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so
So like,
yeah.
so when she and Robert will be on a panel and they're like, "You were there," and I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
I would remember if I was there. I was not there."
So
Anyways,
you said you shot for about a week. You
I
remember
think
like
so.
that? Yeah. Right.
I
Wow.
mean, I can't remember exactly, but it was much less than
Yeah.
Robert and Heather,
Well,
and and then even like I only worked. I mean, I think even Jesu and Johnny worked more than I did, and you know,
really.
um, yeah, I think I just wasn't there very much.
And so when you weren't shooting, you were not on set, right? It was
Mm-mm,
just yeah.
no, and you know what? It's not that I wouldn't have been welcome. I don't know. It didn't seem. I don't know. I've never really
You were
gone to
too
set.
busy. You were too busy. You
I
had
was
places
busy.
to go,
Yeah,
people to see.
but
Well,
I've
in
never
fairness,
thought
you
about
were.
hanging on a set when I wasn't filming. I mean, I have sometime I take that back. If you're on location, like in a small
Hmm.
town somewhere, people will tend to hang out on the set when they're not working
Yeah.
because they're not home. But it didn't really occur to me go hang on the
You
set. I
talk.
should have actually.
You should. Yeah. I mean, looking back, I mean, it's easy to say, but
Yeah,
with those small budget films, it's so there's such crazy schedules that you probably figured, why
yeah.
stress myself out.
Well, I just didn't know. Like I
Yeah.
just didn't.
Yeah.
Uh,
If hindsight being 2020,
yeah, like I didn't. Well, the funny thing was, is I knew Heather and I hit it off, and we were.
mm,
I knew like we were already hanging out on the weekends and stuff.
yeah.
And then Heather and Robert and I hung out. We used to go to his beach pad in Malibu. He had this
Mm,
really cool beach pad because Robert's a surfer. I don't
all
think he
right.
surfs anymore, but he was an old surfer dude. And I love him. He's like
Yeah.
my uncle. He's like the best. Um, actually, all of us are really good friends. But
Yeah.
that's Wes.
We're
He
gonna
put a
get to that. Let's not do spoilers.
oh sorry.
Let's no, I'm just joking. Was it a stressful set? That's what I was gonna
Oh
get
right.
to also with Wes. Like, is it was it a fun set, a stressful set? I know you have to get a lot in, but were you able to have fun or no?
Yeah. I don't think it was stressful in a way that there were jerks on the set being
Hmm.
mean and making everybody stressed out. It was stressful to a degree because so much had to be completed each day,
Yeah.
so little time, and sets maybe not working right, or I mean, it was more like just the mechanics of trying to get so much done as
Yeah.
opposed to a personality thing that made
Yeah,
people
for sure.
stressed. But yeah, no, we also had a lot of fun. Robert is a great raconteur and would tell all these really fun stories. And his way of working is he joke, 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 and they say action, and then he's just there.
Yeah.
I tend to be a little more like leave me alone, I'm focusing.
Hmm.
Heather's just wants everybody to be happy. She's so sweet. She's just like if I like we're good cop, bad cop, and I'm the bad cop when we're together because she's so sweet.
Wow. Oh, she
Yeah,
must be really sweet then.
she is literally probably the nicest person on the planet.
Mm,
But yeah, I think ultimately we had a lot of fun.
yeah, that's good.
I don't. It was like the scenes like when all of the four kids were together were always silly and fun,
Hmm.
and we all just got along. Like so, it
That's
was
good.
easy, and so even if we went off by ourselves, I don't there was just never there wasn't any tension between
Yeah.
us or with Robert. And Wes had a lot on his plate. It wasn't like he sat around joking around with us and stuff, but he
Hmm.
was kind of busy. But
Yeah.
but no, it wasn't. I would The only stress was just, I think, the stress of doing an indie with no money
Yeah,
and trying
exactly.
to
The
and
time.
running out of money, and
Yeah.
fights with the producers and
Yeah.
sets not working, because like we had the rotating rooms,
Yeah.
and I don't know, gross sticky blood wrecking something and then trying to fix it. And so it was more like the mechanics of
Yeah.
uh
Okay. So, Tina's death scene. So, I know you've probably talked about it all your life. But this is a very classic, iconic. It's gruesome and I argue gorgeous at the same time. Um, and but making that scene, shooting that scene, I'm assuming wasn't as awesome as people remember when they watch the film. Am I right on that?
well, there's a couple things. One, it is, you know, cool to be a part of such an iconic scene that it was like, I think it still is, was just, forget horror films, it was listed in AFI for a while as just one of the top
Hmm.
death scenes in a movie. And there was a picture of Wes and I shooting that hanging in the Directors Guild lobby in LA for a gazillion years.
That's cool.
And in fact, when he passed, that was the photo they put in the DGA. Stevens in the DGA, so we get the DGA magazine. And it was that picture of Wes and I, a black and white, where he's talking to me while we're shooting that scene.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I found, from an acting point of view, it was challenging, but in like a really great acting way. Like I
Yeah.
had to make it look like I was being dragged, but I had to propel myself. That we're in a rotating room, so I had to always like make it look like I was being pulled as the room spun, and then I went.
Yeah.
You and that it needed, like, I just dove in and just went to that place
Yeah.
that is full on, and I found it really um satisfying as an actor.
Hmm.
We had some difficulties with the room because I got vertigo while we were shooting that scene, because everything in the room is like nailed down and glued
Hmm.
down. And so, I had a lot of pressure.
Hmm.
We only had one take on each thing because once the blood was in there, it wasn't
Yeah.
like they could
Then.
go back and do that. So we rehearsed it a lot and talked about it a lot, and what we want in this segment and then this segment and what exactly he needed from me.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just super game because I love stuff like that, like just to
Yeah.
be like, let it just rip. And so, but then anyway, we start to go around. I get, I'm on the floor, but I get to the point in the room where the bed is hanging over my head, and I just was like, I'm done. Like my
Yeah.
brain was done. Like I would have kept going, but I literally was like, started screaming that I was falling. Like,
Yeah.
I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm
It's a
falling.
terrible feeling.
They're like, cut. And I was just holding on to the floor because
Yeah.
that made sense in my brain that if I held onto the floor, I wouldn't fall. And there's this picture of Wes popping his head through a window,
Yeah.
going, "Look, you're on the floor, and I'm standing here." And I was like, I can't."
Yeah.
And he's just talking to me, and he's like, "Here, I want you to get up." And then the next picture is I'm crouching because I really believe if I stand up, I'm going to
Yeah.
fall from the ceiling. It just, my brain had,
Yeah, it was
the,
disorientation. You were,
yeah.
yeah, for
So
sure.
all
That's
the
tricky.
synapses blew. So as Wes is talking to me, and he talks about this in the Never Sleep Again documentary, he went, "Whoa, I have to get out of this room. I don't feel so good." And then he realized oh my God, I am torturing this child. Like, she needs to get out of this room.
Yeah.
So, because he was starting to get frustrated with me because I was starting to get less uh,
Effective.
effective.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly it. And then he realized what was happening after
Hmm.
talking to me. And he's like, all right, this is what's going to happen. We're going to just get you out of this room, but I need you to just hang in there with me. Trust me when I tell you you're not going to fall, and I need you to let it rip. I need you to go back to the darkest place you can go.
Hmm.
And I was like, just staring at him. I was like, okay. And then we did it. And I think all of that is why that scene is so effective.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, sometimes it takes um an effort like that to convey, but I mean, you must have been, you this day must be so happy that even though you went through hell, that it's revered. Because I mean, it could have
Yeah.
gone the other way, right? Where
It
you
could be
look
like
at
a
it and you're like,
joke or
oh, that was,
whatever. Yeah.
and then that makes it,
Yeah. And I also look at it like an acting challenge
hmm.
is like not like a real life challenge. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no,
yeah,
no,
like
100%.
somebody having to go do something super serious.
Yeah.
So I always, but I do love someone was coming through
Your
my front
neighbors.
door. No, I was like, is somebody on my porch? It scared me. Like, what's happening? Oh my
It's
God,
either.
this is like a snuff film. Like, I'm just gonna be killed on your Zoom. Um, that would be awful, but you'd get
It
really
would
good
be pretty
ratings.
bad.
Um, um, I think that I love overcoming a challenge like that, like an acting obstacle,
Yeah.
and still creating something. Because in the end, I'm just a journeyman character actor, and I want to tell a story, and I
Mhm.
want to tell it effectively. I like your word, and I want to tell it in a way with big open arms, so people come with me and
Yeah.
let me tell them the story. And
Yeah.
I feel like we were able to accomplish that, and under acting challenges and technical challenges and things like that. And so I always find like afterwards I feel really pumped, like you did something
For sure. Yeah.
important or whatever.
That's awesome. And just I would drop just. You said just a journeyman actor. Never a just. You are.
Thank you.
And was there was there a point when you're, because I've seen some of the stills from the shooting of that. Is there a point where you're covered in blood? Your wardrobe is sliced open. Um, you're looking around at all the grips and gaffers and makeup guys, and are you just like, was there a point where you're like, what am I doing? Like, where am I?
Actually, yes. Thank you, because I'd gone to drama school, and there was a moment where I was like I'm not being paid very much to do this movie. It's an indie, which I'd never heard of before, because I'd never done an indie.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I'm freezing. I'm in this sticky red blood, which I think it's better now. I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't, but the stuff they used to use, it would just stain you.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the old blood was, but you never really could get it out the entire shoot. They just put more makeup on you because, like, you have like your ears would be stained red, or
Yeah.
I'd
Your
fake
hair.
blonde. My hair was
Yeah.
stained pink. All like I made the mistake of wearing my own bra, which it was stained pink, and
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, you're freezing. I'm barefoot in an alley
Yeah.
in
Oh, yeah.
Venice, where they'd gone around and had to pick up hypodermic needles and broken glass. And I'm like, well, did you get it all? I'm barefoot out here. And so, like, yeah, I had a moment where I was like, I paid for drama school for this.
Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I doing here? Um,
Yeah.
but that was still fun. It
So
was still. Wait, really quick, in the
yeah.
alley when we were shooting all that stuff, because I had to scream in the alley, and it was like 2 a.m. in Venice.
Hmm.
Total like war zone back then. People would just like shut the f up, like we're like yelling through the takes. It was
While you're
very funny. I'm like, sorry, I have to scream 3 more times.
So also in that alley, I was gonna, well, not just that alley, but is it true that you actually were handling these insects, these centipedes and stuff?
Yes,
That's
100%.
pretty
And
that's pretty
I'm not even
badass.
sure if that. Thank you. I
Because
know
I
it.
couldn't do that.
But literally Wes every single day. Because it was like remember Outward Bound? That was a thing you could do as a teen, and they'd take you for a week and they'd drop you in the woods with like
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
twine, some twine, a peanut, and a vessel to collect water, and like we'll be back in a week.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
felt
good
like
luck.
that's what it was on Nightmare on Elm Street. Every day, Wes would be like,
Yeah.
"Guess what you get to do today?" Because also, I remember reading the script, and like there's things like they have sex, but it's like one sentence. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like you don't even register it, or she
Yeah.
picks up worms, and so it wasn't. I don't know. I just never downloaded that I was actually going to be doing those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, the worm situation in that alley, and it didn't really even end up in the movie. But I had to pick up the trash can lid and let there was like hundreds of worms crawl on my hand and go. There was actually a worm wrangler. There was a guy who was like, "Don't hurt my worms." I'm like, "Ew." All right. Um, and that was really hard to do.
Yeah.
That and touching the centipede. Now I didn't put the real centipede in my mouth,
Yeah, but
but I
still.
had to. I had to, get to know it. And I stood in a bag of eels that
You
they said had. I stood in a bag of eels,
yeah.
and they said that they'd been defanged. But like, I'm like going, do I know you? Like, how do I know that you're telling me
Yeah.
the truth? Like, you're an eel wrangler.
Yeah, eel. I mean,
Yeah. So I did that, and the
and then
blood and
the body
oh yeah,
bag,
the
they
body
zipped
bag.
you up.
They set me
That's
up in
kind
the
of
body.
freaky.
Well, it was. That was actually terrifying because it was a real body bag. They didn't have the money to like put a zipper on the inside or anything.
Hmm.
So I had to trust again people I don't know that would, unzip
Yeah.
me for lunch or whatever. I was
Yeah.
like, and I remember they poked a few pinholes, and Wes was like, I can see you breathing. I'm like, because I'm not dead. And I'm freaking out that I'm in a body bag and I'm hyperventilating. So I say, let's just get this shot and get me out of here because I don't want to be in
Yeah.
it. But yeah, that was hard. That was actually everything in your body goes, or for me anyway, was like, don't do it, don't do this, don't zip
Yeah.
this up, don't do it, don't do it.
It's like a trust fall, right? You got to hope that they
Yeah,
catch you, and a lot of
yeah.
people that aren't that trusting of strangers. I mean, so.
Exactly. And in hindsight, this just occurred to me just now. Why didn't they just cut a big hole out of the back of the thing? You know what I mean? So that I could like poke my head out when I wanted. Like
Yeah.
all these
Well,
years later, that just occurred to me that
health
they,
and safety's evolved a lot in
yeah,
in a lot of
yeah,
workforce places
well,
these
yeah,
days.
OSHA. There was no OSHA on this set.
So I want to touch base on the cast. So we'll start with Rod, who was Nick Corey and now Jesus Garcia.
Yeah,
And the reason why I'll start with him is because he was Tina's love interest.
yeah,
Um, Now he see this is another dynamic. This is why I like Tina so much, because this is a perfect example of a sweet girl caught up with the wrong guy, and everybody has seen that. Everybody has lived that. Everybody knows the girl that did that, and this is it. It's playing out. It's almost like you want her to get away from him because
right.
she's otherwise adorable with especially with Nancy. So that's another reason why I like the relationship. It was a very realistic relationship, if
Yeah,
not a happy one.
right.
Um, so like, yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on that, but that's just an observation I made and I
That's a
appreciate
good
it.
observation, actually.
Well,
Um, First of all, Jesu is awesome. And I mean, he's a director now and a minister, and he's even more gorgeous now than he was then. And he has a gorgeous fiance. I think she is a supermodel, and no joke. Um, but he's amazing. But weirdly, he he really was in character. And so he and I didn't really connect.
yeah,
So those scenes, it was good because it really, the part of Tina that felt that she didn't deserve love and had to chase it, like he made me like chase him for every
yeah,
ounce of attention on the set, which was brilliant. And
hmm,
so we didn't become friends until afterwards. Now we're
really.
friends.
Eh? Well, he admitted, and it was Never Sleep Again documentary that he was battling some substance and stuff on the
Yeah.
set. Was that something that you noticed on set, or was it causing problems on set for when you were around?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. Yeah, it was problematic.
Mm.
Um, but he still made it work. Like he's
Yeah.
amazing in the movie. And
Do
and
you, did it? Do you think? And it's okay to say no, but do you think that it maybe helped the dynamic between you and him, or would you have rather it not have been that way and you could just rely on acting?
right. Um, I think obviously I'd rather always just rely on acting, and I've had to work with other people with substance abuse. The thing about Jesu though, he was never rude or mean to me, or he didn't cause me any harm or
Hmm.
anything like that. It was just kind of it was a little bit challenging, but I do think as far as for this particular movie, all the weird elements of everybody involved, I think are the things that made this movie stick with everyone. It's subliminal,
Yeah.
or it's the rawness of it, and I mean, it was raw. Like none of us really wore makeup. We
Yeah.
really like the special effects were everything was practical and raw. Jesu having the things that he was going through. I just think all of that.
Contributed.
Yeah, I just don't think it would have been the same movie without it. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can't say that it made it better or if it would have been different, but or
Hmm.
worse. But it definitely all the challenges, everything everybody was going through with this movie. It's probably the reason the movie is the way it is. I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
just. I think.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's so. What about Heather? Now you mentioned
Oh
that.
my gosh, I love Heather.
So
Sorry.
no problem.
Um,
Do you need to get to that? We'll take a little break. You
sorry.
can get to
Nope, it's cool. Steve's at the grocery store. He wanted to know if we need milk. Okay.
that.
Very
You-
important.
Did you reply? Are you good?
I did. I
Okay.
just
Okay.
I just said yes if you want it. Um,
All right. So Heather
Heather
Langenkamp.
Heather Langenkamp is okay. First of all, she's incredibly smart. She had taken a semester off of Stanford to shoot uh, Nightmare on Elm Street. She and I would sit on the little steps of our dressing rooms every day, and we bonded over doing the crossword puzzle because we both are crossword puzzle fanatics. She's super smart. She majored in Russian literature, and
Well,
um, Susan Rice was her college roommate. Um, she is a kind and loving and amazing wife to her husband Dave and her kids, and um, she's a great friend.
and you're still
And
close.
yeah, we're
You're
still
still
really
close.
close. In fact,
That's
she
awesome.
just got the lead in the new Mike Flanagan TV series called Midnight. Oh, Midnight. Oh, I forget the name of it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Everybody will know it. And
Yeah.
she's going to be amazing in it.
That's
She's
awesome.
just so grounded and filled with light, and she's
Yeah.
going to be brilliant in it. And so
That's
she
awesome.
leaves like in 2 weeks to go to Vancouver for a couple months to shoot it.
Really.
So
Eh?
I'm
Oh,
so
good for her.
excited for her. It's based on a book, and um, anyway, yeah, she's amazing, and um, I don't know. We
Yeah.
just really stayed really, really good friends
That's
all these
cool.
years. Yeah, she's we've been there.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, I love her. She's like one of my favorite people on the planet.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to hear. All right, so we're going to talk about Johnny Depp. Now, unlike other people, so but everybody kind of maybe worked with someone who exploded and stuff. But for you, that's his old hat, right? You had Nicolas Cage. You had, I
Yeah,
mean, Johnny Depp was just another number for you, right?
yeah.
But what was he? What was he like on the set? This was his first film, and
Right.
what was he? Were you able, and I hate asking the cliche question, did you see the stardom in him? But did you see something in him, or was this a film where he was working it out?
Um, well, I really only had like that one long scene with him, and then the rest of the time we were just like riding in a car or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, No, I didn't see it in him, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really, maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Well,
He
it's a
had a coach
fairly
with him.
straight-laced character too. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not a flashy character.
yeah. He was, Heather remembers that he had a coach with him on the set all the time. I don't remember that, but she worked with him more than I did.
Hmm.
And I thought, yeah, I mean, I thought he didn't know what he was doing. So, but he didn't because he'd never acted before.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't really, I think I was just focused on my own stuff.
But you did see that he was kind of green, like he
Yeah,
wasn't
I mean, I guess, yeah, yeah, he didn't, I, I just thought, oh, he doesn't know what he's
first
doing.
film kind
Yeah,
of thing.
or just I didn't wasn't even thinking that. He was just like, oh, he doesn't know how to work with props. Oh well,
Yeah,
whatever. Who
yeah,
cares? I don't care.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Ha- have you seen him since the film?
I have not recently, but
Not
yeah,
recently.
yeah.
Does Nightmare come up or no?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we just like to say hi, like, hey, I
Yeah,
mean, no,
no,
we
but
don't talk about it though.
you don't talk about, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, Robert England.
Oh, he's the best. Robert is such a good actor. He's an old stage actor.
Hmm.
I think it's which is why he was so able to bring the truth and theatricality to Freddy Krueger, because of all that learning how to move properly on stage.
Hmm.
Great storyteller, kind, generous, funny. Um,
And not the method in the sense that you would not stay in character, like you were saying that he would
yeah,
be joking around, so you didn't have that fear
yeah,
built in. You had to
yeah. He
manufacture it.
joked around, but that's also his way to stay loose,
Yeah.
and um, but he's such a good actor. I wish I could have seen him on stage. He doesn't want to do stage anymore,
No.
um, but he's an old surfer. He's
Yeah.
a great husband to Nancy, who's amazing. He's just such a good guy, and he's on the new season of Stranger Things.
Oh, is he really?
Yes,
The season 4, I think.
yeah, whatever the latest
Good
season
for
is.
him. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's amazing. I'm
he's
so glad.
always somewhere. He's
He is, but you know what?
but so are you.
Oh, thanks.
So are you.
But I haven't seen it yet, or maybe it's not even come out yet. Maybe he was just announced he was doing it. But anyway, he is at when that comes out, and he's just such a good actor,
Yeah.
and he's he and Steven, who I live with, are both old theater actors, and they'll just sit and talk about like Robert will walk around a set he's working on and find all the props and things he's going to use and what he might be. Oh, look, they put a turtle on that table. What can I do with that turtle? Like they're just
Yeah.
always mining for some little bit that lets you know a
Yeah.
little bit more about them. And I love that about Robert. And
That's
I
so
hope
cool.
someday I get to work with him again and
Yeah.
do something, I don't know, fun. And
Okay. So, speaking of working with, did you ever work with Wes Craven again?
I didn't. You know what?
No.
Wes and I had a falling out.
Oh.
Just to be honest, I
Yeah.
haven't ever said this. I was friends with Wes's wife, Mimi,
Hmm.
and they got divorced like a year after uh, um,
Home
we
Street.
wrapped Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's like somebody said something, I don't even know what it was, and he just when they got divorced he was like, I don't what he thought I'd done something or something I
Really?
didn't do. I don't even know what happened, but so I ended up, I lost him in the divorce and
Hmm.
stayed friends with Mimi and I are still friends. But no, Wes wouldn't have anything to do with me. In fact, I saw him at a screening once and he wouldn't even say hello.
You're kidding.
No, dead serious.
Right till when he
Right till the
passed, you
bitter
never.
end. Yeah.
Oh,
He
you're
did say
kidding.
nice things about me in the Never Sleep Again documentary, but I think that's just because he would have looked like a jerk if he hadn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, but whatever. He went on to do what he
So
did.
this would explain, I guess, why when they did Wes Craven's New Nightmare, you weren't in it because
You know what they offered me was an extra role to stand by the grave, and they said, "Well, Johnny Depp's doing it," and I was like, "Well, Johnny Depp's like a huge movie star, so it's quirky for him to
yeah,
do it." And they didn't offer me any money, and I was like, "Screw you! Write me a role or go
yeah,
screw yourself." So
yeah, and
they were like, "Okay, so long, sucker."
that's a miss. That's a miss, and that's unfortunate that because that movie came out and kind of was very meta and was
Oh yeah, I
cut.
love. It's like my favorite one in the franchise. I
Oh,
and,
is it?
and well, I do. I think Heather and Robert are just so beautiful and amazing in that movie, and they did such a good job. I
They
mean,
did.
Wes is a brilliant writer and director,
Mhm.
and I think like the Nightmare ones that he wrote and directed are they're just so. I mean, he's a brilliant storyteller, and he has a brilliant gift of getting actors to bloom fully in front of the camera
Mhm.
and helping him tell his story. I mean, just such a beautiful storyteller. I mean, and
Mhm.
all of his movies, pick any movie, he was a beautiful storyteller.
You should have been in that
Oh, I would have loved to
film.
have been. I should have been in many of the other films because I could have
Yeah.
kept coming back to Tina, but Wes hated me. So,
Yeah, well,
so,
I wouldn't say
so there's
hate,
that.
but I can't say otherwise. But no,
Yeah,
I always, whenever I watch that film, I always feel that that's a miss not having
yeah.
you.
I lost him in the divorce between he and Mimi Craven,
That's some
and
weird
he
collateral
believed.
damage.
I forget. He believed it was either his assistant at the time or I think who's gone on to be his producing partner. Somebody said something about me that I
Yeah.
did something nefarious, which wasn't true,
Hmm.
and because I was friends with Mimi, he believed it, and so,
Yeah.
and it came from within his house. It was his
Yeah. Yeah.
assistant or his producing partner. It was somebody that um, had I don't know why they did it, and I've since seen the assistant, who I think is the one who did it, at a film festival, and I was just like, "Ugh, whatever, who cares at this
Yeah.
point? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't hold a grudge about it. It is what it is, and everything happens for a reason. And
Yeah.
um, that was my
Yeah.
journey with Wes, and that's just the way it was supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, you connected in '84, and you guys made magic, and maybe that's just got to be enough.
You know what? Maybe it may be. I mean, it would have been fun to be in the Scream franchise or to do something else,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
moved on. He moved on
Yeah.
to other people, and that was his deal, and
And
that's cool. It's all
and you
good.
did too. It's not like, it's not like you were losing work because of it. So, I mean,
Exactly.
it
I
was
mean, yeah, not that I know of. Hopefully, he wasn't out bad mouthing me. Who knows? I don't think he was the vindictive. Well, I mean, he was vindictive enough to never want to talk to me
speak to you
again,
again.
but I don't think he was a bad
Never
mouthing
speak
kind of
again.
person. Yeah, to never. Oh, never speak again.
Never speak
That
again.
that's my
You
story
got
with
to
Wes.
talk it out. I don't understand that
Yeah,
philosophy of just,
yeah.
hearsay but
Well, I think divorces are messy and people take sides, and
yeah.
everybody's fighting, and I think I was collateral damage to
Yeah.
a fight that had nothing to do with me, and I was young, and I was never good at like people that were super good at schmoozing and
Mhm.
networking, and always like I just liked Mimi. Like it never occurred
Yeah.
to me. Like I was never like a manipulative kind of person that was like, I'm going to befriend this director and I want to
Yeah.
make sure that the producer knows that I'm here. And I've just, much to my detriment, because
Mhm.
the actresses I know that did that are all huge stars. so I could have, should have, would have.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't look back on it that way. But looking at the whole legacy of Nightmare on Elm Street, um, social media, for all its damage, has also contributed to the world of conventions and stuff. I mean, conventions were always there, but they're kind of going part and parcel with the explosion of social media.
Right.
Is are you are you just amazed at, what I mean? You've had a lot of years to kind of, digest what Elm Street has meant to people, but are you blown away? Like, I've said this before, like, these aren't just small films that go away. Like, your role in Elm Street is as iconic as any classic film that has ever been made. I mean, does that register with you?
um, I mean, it does on one level. I mean, yes. I mean, obviously, I'm aware of it.
Hmm.
It's hard to personalize something like that because it's just so
It was
strange. I
you.
mean, yeah, and I mean, I look at that same era was Better Off Dead, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Nightmare on
Hmm.
Elm Street, when our beloved
All
films
great.
in their various and even Silverado to some extent is for a
Hmm.
Western fan. And I find that sorry, I'm changing my Indian style right there. Okay, wait. Um uh my cross-legged, I mean. I think that because I never knew that there were conventions until like 98, I think.
Hmm.
And Heather and Robert called me and said, "Hey, we're going to this convention and we think you should come with us." And I was like a RV convention? Like, what are we doing? Like, are we going to go look at camping gear? Like, remember those old conventions they'd have where you could go look at all like the
Yep.
boats and they're like, no, a fan convention. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So we went to I went with them and I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, because I didn't know that people loved it. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's like you said, it's pre social media.
Yeah.
I didn't have any access to fans or
Yeah.
people that,
Mm.
you know,
And you hear that a lot. People are blown away. They're like,
yeah.
"What? This was
Because you have,
waiting for me. This was here for
yeah,
me."
it was just kind of like overwhelming, really.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, uh, I don't, I don't personally feel worthy of this, but the movie is worthy of people
Hmm.
loving it, and that's how I look at it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a part of this movie, but I'm not even the central part of this movie. I am, I'm
I
one
disagree
of the
with that.
spokes in the wheel for this movie, but that people love the movie, I think is amazing. And no, I would have never known. I mean, now I would know because of social media, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wouldn't have known. I mean, I know, like, say I post a picture on Instagram and I'll get like a certain amount of likes, but if I post something from Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah.
it's
It-
like huge. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So people aren't really interested in me. They're interested in the movie. And I'm okay with that.
they're interested in
100% okay with
you in the movie.
it.
It's
But
part and parcel. You
yeah,
can't have one without
yeah.
the other.
But it is
Um,
amazing at conventions, the stories. Everybody wants to share their story, how the movie affected them, um, and they love the friendship with Nancy and I, um, and then they just worship Heather as they should
mhm.
because she's given so many people strength that didn't they they felt powerless in the world or were traumatized
Yeah.
as girls and young men as well, and I love hearing those stories of how
Mhm.
people found strength or befriended Freddie in their whatever their things are about the movie. There's some people that Freddie is like their friend, and other people
Yeah.
Heather is their savior, or anyway, the
Yeah.
stories are amazing, and I feel honored to get to hear them and to give whatever I can to make somebody feel seen and heard and valued.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I kind of your death scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, I kind of draw a relation to the original Frankenstein, where he throws the little girl in the water and she dies, and it's such an iconic death scene for an era. And I kind of feel, even though Freddie didn't accidentally kill you, he pretty much went for it. But I feel that it's the same. It's kind of the same if like Robert is Boris Karloff, and I kind of draw parallels. But that could be just me, and I mean,
I
but
like that. I've never thought of that.
yeah, I kind of just I mean, they're very iconic films, and you were part of it. I mean, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, I mean, there's people that'll be in classic movies, or what is deemed as classic, that will be forgotten. You won't. That's kind of cool.
That's very cool, and that makes me emotional. And thank you. It's just yeah, and it's always just my karma or a twist of fate or luck. It wasn't any calculation on my part because I get asked this question a lot, like, how did you know Fast Times, Better Off Dead? Because I shot in 1 year. I shot Nightmare on Elm Street. A month later, I started Better Off Dead. A month later, I started Silverado.
Wow.
Um, and people are like,
Silverado was loaded with cast.
I was crazy.
Oh.
Oh my God. That hands down the best experience I've ever had working.
Really?
And
Yeah.
remember Brian Denny, he said to myself and Jeff Fahey and a couple other people, the younger people on the set, he said, soak this up, take every minute of this in, because this is not what it's like normally, because
Really?
everyone loved each other. We were in the most beautiful location and
That's
playing with
awesome.
horses and guns and having fun, and they had just finished the Big Chill, so every Saturday night after rap was a Motown dance party, and it was just magic. It was magic. But anyway,
That's
I
awesome.
digress. People ask, did you know, how did you pick these films? And I was like, I was just saying yes to what was offered to me.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. I just got lucky.
Yeah, that
And
was a good stretch.
yeah, it was a good stretch.
Yeah,
Definitely a good stretch.
sure.
And
Awesome. Um, so when you go to these conventions, I mean, this fans aside, I mean, they must be fun for you actors and filmmakers and stuff like that. Like, I mean, who do you hang out with? You're in the middle of Tacoma at a convention. Who's your go-to for dinner?
Heather.
Heather.
Heather
Okay,
and Robert
Heather's
and I,
not
yeah.
there.
Oh, Heather's not
Heather
there.
can't be there.
Okay, because I usually go out to dinner with Heather and Robert. Well, you know what? I don't really go unless I go with Heather and
Oh,
Robert,
okay. So you're kind of a
because
package deal.
yeah, I am but if I'm not with them, um I'll tend to just eat in my room by myself. To be honest.
Riveting,
I
riveting.
know, I'm sorry,
But
that's
no,
not
but
very
it's
exciting.
honest. It's
But I
true.
do want to say, like, there is a lot of hanky panky and things going on at these conventions. There's a lot of hooking up and um, a lot of alcohol
Yeah,
and a lot of wild partying. And I say, have at it.
yeah. Life's
And
too
yeah,
short.
but yeah, exactly. But I know usually Heather and Robert and I go out and have, a couple cocktails and a great meal, and then
Yeah,
go to bed, because it's actually a really long day.
yeah,
You have to get up early. I mean, it's a great day. Everything about it is great.
yeah.
But like, because like for girls, it's not like we get to just roll out of bed and splash water on our face. I got to curl my hair and put on makeup, iron my clothes. It's like a whole deal.
Yeah.
And um, again, I can't wait till you're at that phase. I'm at that phase where I could just roll out of bed and be the handsome lady, and nobody cares whether I have on lip gloss. But right now they still do. But it's super fun, and I mean, I've met a lot of people, and I've met other people from the Nightmare franchise, because I didn't know the other actors from the
Yeah,
other Nightmare movies. So
that
that's
must be
been
cool.
fun, meeting them through the years and
Yeah,
befriending them.
the
And
panels that you do and stuff like that.
exactly. And
Yeah,
then I've met other people. Well, actually, like William Butler and I got reconnected. I mean, we had been trying to do a project many, many years ago. And then about 10 years ago, maybe less, I ran into him at a convention and we hung out for the weekend, and that was fun. And
that's
then
cool.
we've stayed super connected since then. And who else have I seen? But I've also seen other actors that I hadn't seen in a long time from other
Yeah,
movies, like David Naughton. David Naughton and
yeah.
I, American Werewolf in Paris, we
Hmm.
had done a movie called Desert Steel in the 90s about race car drivers. And so I see him now at conventions, and that's fun. And
It's got to be, and that's the thing with like being involved in such a film. In a way, you've got you got a place to go for, like, for all these things. Like, I mean,
yeah,
that's a pretty sweet gig. Like, even if you wanted to retire from acting and just kind of kick back and just do
yeah,
these conventions once in a while,
kind
then
of fun.
why not? Right?
And it's
Sounds like
also
fun.
fun because I did a couple of years ago, I did a movie called The Id,
Yep.
which was directed by Tommy Hudson, written by Sean. Oh my God, my mind just went blank. Sorry, I'll
It's
think of
okay.
it. Sorry, Sean. Holy cow. Okay, it does matter. I mean, it does matter, but I'll Google it before you hang up. But and Tommy also produced the documentary Never Sleep Again, and he
Mhm.
wrote the coffee table book Never Sleep Again. What was my point? Oh, so the fun thing is, the last couple years going to conventions is that there's a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street fans have embraced the id.
Mhm.
And so it's fun. Like, people will
That's
come up
good.
and
So you
want to
get
talk about that movie. And
something
um,
fresh for you to talk
well,
about.
yeah, well, and it just resonated because it's a little bit like, I mean, not really, but if Tina had lived there, it's definitely like this character of this tragic, damaged woman. And I think
Mhm.
that people relate. It was easier for people to relate because the
Yeah.
rest of the stuff I do is, episodic TV. And so it's
Yeah.
like people aren't really like, oh my God, I loved you and, insert any name.
Yeah.
but but so that was fun. And then I was gonna say with um oh my God, did you look up the id? Let me
Tommy
see.
Hudson.
And what's the writer's name? Sean.
Sean Stewart. Sean H.
Thank you.
Stewart.
Holy cow. I appreciate you doing that. I
No
hate it when
problem.
I can't remember things.
It
Thank you.
happens.
But Tommy and I just worked together again on, he wrote a really great horror book that I think people love. It's called Jinxed, and it's about high school kids at this performing arts school on this misty, dark, scary island. And it's very retro, and
That's cool.
there's a slasher, and
Yeah.
it's a retro slasher book, and it's really good. And I got to narrate it. I got to
Oh, that's
and so
cool.
that just came out this week. And so it's
That's
kind of
awesome.
fun. So Tommy is connected to Nightmare on Elm Street because he started he did something with Heather, and
Mm.
then Tommy and I became friends, and then he did the Never Sleep Again. So he's really like
Yeah.
the almost like the historian of Nightmare on
Yeah.
Elm Street because he got everyone. Even Johnny Depp was going to do it but couldn't because he was filming the
Really.
pirate movie out in some island somewhere. But
It was a great retrospective video. Like
yeah,
the best that I've seen in the horror, like,
yeah,
so he did a really good job.
yeah. He's such a good. So anyway, so Jinxed. If anybody wants to get it and likes a good scary book,
Yeah.
he's part of the Nightmare on Elm Street family. So
So I came across the id when I knew I was going to be interviewing you. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I will after this interview. But I did see the trailer, and it looks like you go some places in this in this film. It looks like
yeah,
it's a pretty good acting piece for you.
thank you. It's
Yeah.
definitely to date like probably I mean, you never want to say the best role, but it's definitely was like a role of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wish that it had been a bigger budget so that they could have, and I know Tommy does too, that
Mhm.
that more could have been accomplished. But I'm super proud of it, and it's super disturbing.
Yeah.
People like it.
That's that's pretty cool. So I want to talk about a project that you were working on, and I don't know how much talking you've done about this, but I happen to know a little bit about it. And our friend William Butler is making his return to acting in it. He's throwing his acting hat back into the ring, and it's a film called Grief.
Yes.
Yes. So
Um, this is going to be so much fun.
you just
And
lit up. You like eyes are
it
beaming.
is so dark and horrible
Oh wow.
and creepy and disturbing and painful. Um, People are gonna love it.
Wow.
And we're gonna have so much fun making it because I think partly because we're such good friends,
Mhm.
there'll be a facility and ease and
Has it
uh
started shooting at all?
no,
No.
no,
So it's
no,
just
we're gonna wait until we can get vaccines.
yeah.
Get like people
Typical
because
Hollywood story.
I have to tell you, because when we were shooting anyway, so yes, it's going to be I don't know how much I can tell. I don't know what Billy told you.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, he
'Cause
was
I know I
so
can't tell everything.
he was on the show and did a lights out interview. And we didn't get into it, but he definitely suggested that I ask you about it. So
Yes. It's
I-
he okay, I am an actress and he is a fan and things don't go well. And I'll
uh,
leave it at that for now.
all
Because I
right.
and it's
Wow.
It's and it's not what you think it is. You it's it's got a twist.
So that's a teaser. That's
Yeah.
a tease. That's a
And
teaser.
we both get to go to some pretty hardcore
Yeah.
places. And Billy's such a good writer. Oh, it's just gonna be so good.
That's
People are
awesome.
gonna love it. Yeah.
That's I could tell by your expression that you're pumped about that. So you got two projects with William Butler that you're
Yeah.
bring a smile to your face. That's pretty
It's
sweet.
so exciting. Well, and like I said, the Miskatonic you we were talking about. See
Mm-hmm.
my
I was gonna ask. I was
muscular.
gonna do a root canal check in on you, but
It's
you
just
doing?
feels numb and weird, numb
It
and
doesn't
painful
show.
at the same time. Numb
It
and droopy and painful. Okay, but that's all right. Because you know what? I'm working on the handsome phase. So it's okay. Let me just get
it
closer.
looks great.
Um,
There,
there we go.
perfect.
But I was going to say the filming during COVID is so challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my story with it. Because I'm going to tell, I probably shouldn't even tell the story. But, before you start filming, you go get a COVID test and then 2 days later you get another one. So you do like 2 or 3 before you actually start filming.
Yeah.
And then you get a rapid test the day your first moment on set.
Okay.
Well, I have been like the queen of quarantine because I don't want this thing.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not that sick from it, I don't want the weird after effects that people have, and I just don't want it.
Yeah.
So I literally never go anywhere. Hence, Steve's at the market getting milk, and I make him wear like a hazmat suit. But I take the test, and it comes back positive. Everyone freaks out. I'm escorted back away from everyone. Literally, out comes like a disinfectant thing, and the COVID person is like freaking out. And the 2 actors had walked by. They've been taken away. They have to get another. They're like, oh my
geez.
god! And so I then come home. They're making another test because they're trying to get an appointment right away to do a more accurate test because the rapid tests have a 39% false positive rate.
Oh wow.
I
That's
only know this
pretty
because
high.
I got one.
Yeah.
And so it was so stressful. So Billy calls and he's like, what is happening? Because he hadn't even got to the set yet. And I was like, just recast me. I was like,
Oh.
this is going to take all day. I know you don't have time for this. And so he gets on the phone and Charles from Full Moon Features was like, there's no way that's a real positive. Everybody knows that she never leaves her house. Like there's no way she has COVID. No, like, we're not recasting because I was
Yeah.
freaking. So oh my god, it was just so much chaos and so stressed. So I come home and Steve is here and I'm like, put on a mask. I think I have COVID. We have to figure out how I'm going to do this. I have to go get another test. So they send me to this place that does the better tests, but will also give the results quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I go take that. Anyway, it comes back 2 hours later. So now we're like 4 hours into this stressful that
Yeah.
I obviously don't have it. And then they do another rapid test and it comes back negative. Then I started to go through makeup to do my first scene of the day. And I was just like, whew, every bit of my like acting thing of how to relax and let it go because it was so stressful. And I could
Yeah.
still see people like looking at me like, I'm not gonna
Well,
stand
for
through
sure,
there.
right?
And I was like, oh my God, I'm like typhoid Mary. Like it was like
Yeah.
the worst. So filming during COVID is really stressful.
Yeah.
And you're also trusting that people are quarantining after
Yeah.
their tests, and I don't know,
And they're
are
not.
they? I don't know. And they all have
Most
on
aren't.
like shields and stuff, but
Yeah.
we're not. And I was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. I found it really super grateful, and I love to work, and I'll
Yeah.
do it again. But I was like, Billy, let's just wait till we get a vaccine.
And hopefully that's soon.
Yeah, and
get back to
but you know
normal.
what? If we don't, and I mean, now they're saying the vaccine may not even be good against this new strain. I was like, well,
Yeah,
then
I know.
we'll do it. We'll shoot because the most of the movie is just me and Billy, and Billy and I, neither of us ever leave our houses, so
Yeah.
we'll just make the crew wear hazmat suits and do it.
Hey. All right, so I'd be remiss if I wrapped up this interview and I didn't ask you about your guest spots on Cheers, because
Oh,
Cheers is my favorite show of all time.
no way.
Yeah, I absolutely love it, and I know you played Beth twice on
Yep.
Cheers.
Yep.
I'm just yeah, I don't know what to even ask, but what was that like, just being on that set?
It was amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, it was walking on that set because by the time I did the first episode, that show was already like just so
yeah,
iconic
yeah.
and huge. And I mean, it was back when oh my gosh. the- Anyway, it doesn't even matter. Everybody was amazing, so nice.
It was
Um,
85, I believe, when you were
yes,
on
and
your
it was
first time.
my first episode was Woody Harrelson's first episode.
Oh, was it his first?
Yeah, or maybe his like second. He
But it
was
was, yeah,
brand new.
season 4 when he started. Yeah, it was early on. You're right.
Yeah, because he still didn't really know the people that well, and
Oh,
then by the time I did the second one, he was already like,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and then they picked the other girl to be his girlfriend, and I never
Kelly.
knew why that was. Yeah, Kelly, because like,
Yeah.
um, I
Maybe
think
Wes
that
Craven had a hand in that.
he might have.
No.
No,
I don't
just
I
kidding.
don't want to say
I'm
bad things
sorry,
about
Wes. I'm not.
Wes.
I don't. I'm not speaking ill of him. I think he's amazing. I think that he shouldn't have um, believed garbage about me
Yeah.
because he knew me better than that.
Yes,
But whatever.
exactly.
But I'm not bad mouthing him. He was
No, no, no. I was just a
he,
joke, but
yeah, he was always nice to me. But oh my gosh, it was so much fun. And the writers were so funny, and all those actors were so funny, and everybody was super nice and warm and
yeah.
inviting. And oh my god, I had
Cuz
so much
was
fun
that
doing that.
was that intimidating? Because unlike a film where you would start with people, or even if you start a little bit later, they've been around maybe a week or two. I mean, you're coming into something that's been around for 4 years. They're like, they're a show that's just exploded. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing close to them at that point. That's got to be intimidating, no?
What is it? And you know what? I think because so much of my career I've done episodic, where you're walking into a situation where everybody's already been working together, no
Yeah.
matter what show it is.
Okay. Yes.
And you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they're like a machine, and you're just sort of inserted. Some places are nicer than others. Some people are more welcoming than others,
Yeah.
and you have to really just go, okay, I got to drop into this and be as loose as they are, even
Yeah.
though they're.
Yeah.
But the difference with Cheers was uh, they were super welcoming, and
That's
because
good.
it was a sitcom, you have a week of rehearsing before you ever film anything. So
Yeah.
they'd come up and they'd do things, and the other actors were like, "That was funny," like you're whatever, and
Yeah.
so you felt by the time you guys got to the taping day, you felt a, l- a little bit more like you were part of the team, as
Yeah.
opposed to like a one camera show where you know you walk on a set, you don't know anybody, they throw you in makeup, and then they throw you into a scene, and you're
Yeah.
supposed
Yeah.
to be like this guy's ex-wife, and
Yeah.
and it's an actor that won't even say hi to you, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
you're like, how do I create a relationship with this person? And and so when you're
That's
an
nice.
episodic guest star person, I think you start finding all kinds of tricks to just go, okay, I got this. Okay,
Yeah.
but sometimes I get nervous, and
Yeah.
I have to fight, closing off because um, it is more fun to work when you
Relax. Enjoying
yeah,
it.
and you know everybody, and
Yeah.
and so
That's what I always think with even method actors, like, like people who just get so deep. Daniel Day Lewis, Christian Bale. I'm like, do you do you, I guess it's a trade-off, right? You're doing that for your craft, but you don't get to enjoy
right,
this life that you're living, like, this
yeah,
this passion that you have, like, so it's kind of it's nice to hear that, like, that you take in the moments,
yeah.
and you're kind of appreciative of that.
I think like method act because that was actually my drama school was method.
Hmm.
I and there's been some roles like the id where I kind of needed to stay more in character,
Hmm.
but not to the extent obviously of Christian Bale, or I'd be a huge movie star.
Yeah.
But that's its own joy in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it, like to disappear that completely and feel creative and stuff. I think for me, I'm not speaking for them. I've never met them. I have no idea. I hope they're
Mhm.
nice. They seem happy.
When
Um,
they're not shooting a film, they're
yeah,
probably great.
yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I always try to, especially the older I
Yeah.
get, like just try not to take anything for granted and not take things personally.
Yeah.
Um, Try not to judge as much.
Yeah. You learn.
And yeah, and just kind of be present and take it in, or kind of like gift in, garbage out. Like if somebody wants to be a jackass, I let them be a jackass, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and stuff like that.
Move
So
on.
yeah.
So Elm Street, like I said, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I mean, there's your resume is really impressive, and I know you downplay a lot of your achievements, but the fact that you continuously work is a
Oh,
testament to you as a
thank
person
you.
and you as a talent. I am so happy that you were able to come on this show. I hope you had a good time,
I
and
really did. And thank you. And I hope for all of us that it's just better days ahead.
yeah.
I want to have better days ahead in my career and in life and for our
Mhm.
planet. And I'm not one to look back. I mean, I love looking back to wait, how do I say this? Looking back and talking about Nightmare and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I'm super grateful and fortunate and like accidentally landed in these amazing things. Um, but I always want, I hope to someday before I die have something that's as big as that, but now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
I would
Yeah,
love to have something like that, like
yeah.
something,
You've got the
or something.
perspective now, but
Yeah.
you want to have that experience now that matches, and
Yes. Yeah. And
yeah,
whatever that would be, or just something. I would love to be able to make more things that meant
yeah.
something to people.
Well, it'll happen. It'll happen. You want it, you put it out there, and it'll happen.
Thank
Um, and I'll keep hoping for you. Are you're the sweetest person. I don't know why directors kill you and everything.
you.
I
I
don't know how
try
you
not to.
could. I don't know how you could fall into that kind of role. I guess where you keep getting slaughtered. But
Yeah.
I think
I
the
think
world of
it
it.
was actually Heather who said, she goes, you realize anything you're in, you're either, well, there's three things. I'm either the killer, I get killed, or I'm just a horrible person who breaks up with people. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I'm either like the crazy serial killer like I played on when I recurred on CSI, where I'm like dressed like
Mm-hmm.
Farrah Fawcett and kill people, and
Mm-hmm.
and then my serial killer boyfriend kills me. Um, Spoiler alert. But yeah, like I've played, especially in episodic TV, so many like crazy murderers. And I had an acting teacher once that said, "There's something shifty about you." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "There's something shifty about you." He's
Wow.
like, "That's going to be your moneymaker. You've got a shifty quality." And I was like, "Oh." And then, now I look back, I play so many shifty. Like you go,
Wow.
"Oh, she's not quite what we thought she was." And so I don't know what that's about because I don't think I'm shifty in real life, but I apparently come off very shifty on the film.
That was a
I'm okay. That's how I make
astute
my money.
observation by this person, but
It really was. He's like,
but
because even Tina's shifty. Like she's like sneaking around behind her mom. She's doing like I always just play, kind of shifty.
well, you're not
Not a secret.
shifty. I thoroughly enjoyed this interview. You're great. Would you ever come back on the show?
Sure,
Awesome. Awesome.
sure, absolutely. Maybe
Awesome.
you should have when and if they pick up Miskatonic You, or
Yes.
when Grief, we get that made. Maybe Billy and I can both come
That'd
on
be
and
awesome.
wow you with our stories. And because his book, I'm dying to read his book.
The Tawdry Tales. Yes. Yeah.
I
He's
know.
yeah, that sounds like a really, really great idea. And I'm definitely gonna
I'm gonna read it.
keep that into the works. Amanda Wyss, thank you so much for being on the Slices podcast. I enjoyed the stories and I wish you nothing but the best. And that's all for this episode of the Slices Podcast. I am Jason Pelligra. Don't forget to subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.